Well, today, the day of recording, April 23rd, is the day that Ubuntu 20.04 is going to be released, bringing with it a plethora of new features and improvements. And hopefully in the following days, the various Ubuntu flavors will release their own 20.04 versions with various new features and improvements of their own. And in today's video, we're going to skim over what's new in Ubuntu 20.04 itself, as well as its various flavors. And that begins right now on Linux Lounge. First, let's talk about Ubuntu 20.04 itself. I did actually make a dedicated video that you can check out that's about the beta release, and that is still relevant to the final release. But to give a brief overview of what's new with Ubuntu 20.04, we have the following features. A new theme known as Yaru, which brings with it a fantastic new icon set, a sort of new colour scheme, or like an improved colour scheme, and various improvements around the GNOME UI. As well as that, you get a unique new set of wallpapers specifically for Ubuntu 20.04, the removal of the Amazon integration with Ubuntu, which, great. You also get the Ubuntu Store, which has actually, well, it's now the Snap Store, which replaced the old Ubuntu Store, and that will give you access to lots and lots of new programs from Snapcraft. You also get updates to various included programs. For example, Ubuntu now ships with GNOME 3.36, which brings a plethora of improvements in itself. And Ubuntu 20.04 now supports Secure Boot, which should improve your overall security tremendously. So all in all, Ubuntu 20.04 is shaping up to be a great release. As well as all these features, it seems that Canonical is more and more trying to make the GNOME desktop its own thing. Whereas in the past, you might as well have just used any GNOME distribution over Ubuntu. Now, Ubuntu is really coming into its own as a GNOME distribution, and that's fantastic to see. Now let's talk about our first official flavor of Ubuntu, Kubuntu 20.04. Kubuntu is Ubuntu's official KDE-based flavor, and indeed, Kubuntu does ship with the newest KDE Plasma LTS, KDE Plasma 5.18 LTS to be exact. As well as this, Kubuntu has various usability improvements. For example, there's a new colour emoji selector, Vector theming on GTK apps, improved notifications, and a system tray toggle for the night colour option. As well as that, the various KDE apps have all been updated to newer versions, and the default music player has been changed to Eliza. So all in all, a solid release, and it's sure to be fantastic to the various Kubuntu users out there. Next, we have quite an interesting flavour of Ubuntu, Ubuntu Studio. Now, essentially what Ubuntu Studio is it's a flavour of Ubuntu that bundles lots of different creative applications with it. Now, Ubuntu Studio hasn't seen a huge amount of changes, but what it does have is pretty cool. Updates to Ubuntu Studio in 20.04 include expansions to the pre-installed audio plugins, the inclusion of MyPaint by default again alongside the GNU image manipulation program, and a Ubuntu Studio controls utility that will allow you to modify your Pulse Audio jack bridges. Additionally, Ubuntu Studio, like the other flavours of Ubuntu, will come with much newer versions of software, which is sure to please any creative professionals out there. So all in all, Ubuntu 20.04 is shaping up to be a pretty nice release overall. For our next flavour, we have a pretty new flavour in the grand scheme of things, but it's being very well updated despite that, Ubuntu Budgie. Now, Ubuntu Budgie 20.04 is shaping up to be quite a large release. Some of the features of this new update include a new application menu inspired by Slingshot, which is Elementary OS's app launcher. There's also a new network manager applet, improved support for high DPI displays, which is great to see because historically Linux hasn't played nice with such displays. Additionally, Ubuntu Budgie replaces GNOME MPV with Celluloid and adds a drawing tool by default. As well as that, Ubuntu Budgie now has a sort of tiling feature that can be used to manage your windows more easily. And it also has, a sort of improved Budgie layout by default. So all in all, Ubuntu Budgie is one of the larger updates that's coming with Ubuntu 20.04. And for our next flavour, we have one that has historically been a favourite of mine and still is. And historically it's always been known to put out huge, amazing updates. And that flavour is Ubuntu Mate, which is, as the name suggests, Ubuntu with the Mate desktop. Updates to Ubuntu Mate 20.04 include better high DPI support, much like Ubuntu Budgie, removal of Compiz and Compton, which honestly I have to admit is probably a good choice because the two programs were becoming somewhat unsupported and aren't really necessary, or at least that's what the Ubuntu Mate team decided. Ubuntu Mate also comes with the new Mate 1.24. Additionally, Ubuntu Mate comes with various improvements to Ubuntu Mate's modifications to the Mate desktop. So, you know, it's a fantastic release for Ubuntu Mate, and there are many, many more changes there that have kind of come into Ubuntu Mate. Far too many to list in this video, so I recommend that if that's something that interests you, go ahead and take a look at the release notes for Ubuntu Mate 20.04. And for our next flavour we have Xubuntu, which is another official flavour of Ubuntu, and Xubuntu ships with XFCE by default. The most notable change to Xubuntu is that it will now come with a dark theme option, and just looking at images of it amazes me. It's a really nice dark theme. As well as that, Xubuntu will also come with various wallpapers selected from a community wallpaper contest. Additionally, you'll also get all the package updates that come with the other Ubuntu 20.04 flavours. So all in all, Xubuntu 20.04 is shaping up to be a modest and pretty great update which keeps in tune with XFCE's simple and stable nature. And for our last Ubuntu flavour of the episode, we have Ubuntu Kylin 20.04. At least I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now this flavour of Ubuntu is one that you might not have actually heard of, and the reason for that being is it's mostly designed for the Chinese market and for people who use Chinese internet services, but you can still give it a look and use it outside of China if you want. The features that Ubuntu Kylin brings along with it is a new Qt based desktop called UK UI 3.0, which is a really, really nice looking desktop that rivals even DeepinOS. As well as that, you get numerous other UI changes and improvements to the built-in app, so all in all it's a pretty interesting distribution and I would absolutely give it a look. And that was a quick overview of the new features you get with the various different Ubuntu 20.04 flavours, and indeed Ubuntu 20.04 itself. Of course, this was sort of a brief overview, and if you want something more in depth, I'd recommend going to the release notes page for all these fantastic distributions, or try them out for yourself. Because unfortunately, fortunately really, all these distributions have so many features it would be impossible for me to cover all of them in one video. But I think that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed, you can check out my channel on LBRY, the free and open source YouTube alternative. And with that said, I thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video.